I went away to Australia. I used to do an odd job in the pub. Now, there was this old gentleman who used to come every evening to have beer. His name was Ken Dyer, and he turned out to be a documentary filmmaker. He showed me what storytelling was all about. He planted that seed. I told my boys, we will only go to the Manikarnika Ghat tonight. And something took over for me that night because I was stuck there like glue. That one night changed the course of my life. There is somebody here in Varanasi. He's a family man and he is an Aghori. So I went. We came in front of this huge door. When he knocked, we heard a huge, as if it was a roar. We heard a voice from inside. Let Mahiema come inside.
For Aghoris, why do they choose this path?
Aghoris are Shiv bhakts. They are followers of Lord Shiva. And why Shiva? Because Shiva is the god of destruction and transformation. So only if something gets destroyed will a new one come out, will the transformation happen. And they want to get rid of this cycle of birth, life and death.
Mahimaji, why do they choose to become Aghoris?
It is a calling from another birth, another lifetime. Something they've done or not done in the last birth, and this is like a completion for them. We were shooting at the cemetery. There was a night shot. There was a skull which was kept on the grave. The skull had a little thread tied to it. I made my spot boy sit on top of a tree with the thread in his hand. So we are all ready and everything, and the skull started jumping. And I shouted, I told the spot boy, I told you not to lift up the thread unless I gave you an instruction. He said, ma'am, I did not even touch the thread. Filmmaking is not so much about technicalities as much as it is about storytelling from the heart. Because if you're talking from your heart and if you're showing exactly what your heart is asking you to do, whether you're technically right or wrong, it does not matter, as long as it touches another.
Welcome, Mahimaji, to the show. Thank you so much for coming. I know you have a very busy schedule, your travel, your shoots, what have you. So really appreciate you taking time out for this.
Thank you, Namrata. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy and glad to be here.
Yeah, good to have you too. Let's dive right in. And I want to go way back to years when your tryst with documentaries and filmmaking first began, your backpacking trip to Australia. And you had mentioned that you had stumbled upon filmmaker Ken Dyer. And in your words, life thereon simply took another turn for you. So would love to go on that journey with you, Mahimaji.
Yeah, sure. This goes back in the 80s, 1980s.
Okay.
And I have always been a rebel. And I really wanted to go off the beaten track in my life. I mean, this has been the rule of my life. I actually, I was a dancer. I was a Kathak dancer. And
nice.
I was...
do that, yeah.
Yeah, and I was also preparing for my PhD after my master's program in Delhi University. And I wanted to go to the US to study my PhD because I didn't want to do it from Delhi University. Anyway, so I was preparing, and for the US, one has to prepare for GRE and GMAT exams. So I remember that my younger sister, who was still in high school, I think, she used to have a maths tutor coming home. So I took tuition from him to brush up my mathematics so that I could take the exam.
Yeah.
And I took the exam. I fared good enough. And I managed to get scholarship in 2 universities in the US. So I was ready to go, and I was packing up and ready to go there. And then I was performing in Delhi. I was doing a performance, and I remember at the end of the show, I just collapsed on the stage. So it was a problem in my stomach. So I had to go through a treatment, and my dad just put his foot down that you're not going to the US. So that kind of became my turning point, because I wanted to go into academics, but because I could not, and I just didn't want to do my PhD in India, so I had to then switch. And I thought to myself, what else do I like? What else do I like? So I went into a bit of a depressive phase. And what came out was that, yes, I'm very fond of visuals. I'm very fond of camera, very fond of telling people stories. So I enrolled myself in a mass communication course and a computer animation course. I did well, and then I joined Hindustan Thompson's, which was an ad agency, and I started working in the film and AV department.
Nice.
So that was the first thing, stepping into the media line. Now, once I got in and I had a job, there was pressure coming from the family to get married. Now that you've studied, you've finished education, and now you found a job, what's stopping
Certainly.
you to get
Yeah.
married?
Yeah.
So obviously the proposals kept coming home and everything, and I used to run away. Run away. I didn't want to get married.
Yeah.
So around that time, there was Chogam, Commonwealth Meet in Delhi.
Okay.
So I thought to myself, I said, this is a great opportunity to make some money. So I went and gave an interview at the Ministry of External Affairs and got selected. And
Nice.
for 12 days, I worked in the VVIP lounge at the airport as a protocol assistant. I got the job. I earned a lot of money in those 12 days. And what I did with that money is I bought myself a ticket and ran away to Australia.
Wow.
And I was so clear that I did not want to get married. I mean, that was the key.
Hmm.
I went away to Australia, and I was in Sydney. Obviously, I did not have the money enough to sustain myself in a foreign country. So I used to work in the pub. I used to do an odd job in the pub. And I did not know how to mix drinks or whatever, but I was working in the kitchen. Now, there was this old gentleman who used to come every evening to have beer. And I used to serve him and take back his glasses. And one day he just stopped me and he says, why don't we have a chat? You do this at odd hours. Why don't you take the night shift? I said, because this gets me more money per hour. So anyway, he sat me down. We had a little conversation. His name was Ken Dyer, and he turned out to be a documentary filmmaker.
Wow.
And then he invited me home. I went, and soon enough, he just adopted me. He took me around. He showed me what storytelling was all about. He planted that seed. And I knew it was God's divine intervention, because there was no other way I could have even learned or figured out what documentaries was all about.
Yeah, I
And
was.
he was the perfect person. He was the perfect person to handhold, to tell me what, just take me with him. It was such a privilege. It was such a privilege. So that's how the seed of filmmaking, documentary filmmaking, was planted.
And I guess the rest is history.
The rest is history. Absolutely, the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how it began, and then I stayed in Australia for about a year and a half.
Yeah, I was
Then
going to
I
ask you,
came.
did you stay back or what happened after that?
Yes, I stayed back. I stayed back, and I did lots and lots of odd jobs, and I also hitchhiked all the way down the coastline from Brisbane down to Tasmania with a Swedish friend of mine. And on the way, when we would, uh, you know, finish off our funds or didn't have any money, we would go into a little village or little town, and if we see any old people needing help for grocery or shopping or paint houses, we would help them, make some little money and travel along. So we did that for about 6 months, and that was really exciting. So that 1.5 years was very, very crucial because one, I realized what I truly wanted out of life, and two, I saw the world through my own eyes, through my own lens, not filtered, and for me, that was the biggest life lesson, biggest
That is
life lesson.
very important for everybody, is just
Yes,
to see
yes,
things and see world with our own eyes, unfiltered.
absolutely, absolutely. It's the most important thing because,
It changes
um,
us as a person,
yes,
shift in.
totally changes us, totally, totally. We just become a new person. So when I came back to India, I was a totally different person. I
Yeah.
was so clear of what I wanted to do in my life. Yeah.
So, which is the first documentary film or a movie that you made?
Well, there was a little gap because the first assignment I took when I came back to India was a radio show by BBC Wales
Okay.
on prominent women in India. So I did a show with 9 women in India, including Margaret Alva, Madhu Keshwar, Shahnaz Hussain, many. So that's what I did, and then I worked in Coorg, which was another beautiful, not exactly a documentary, but it was documenting what Coorg people are all about. So I did that, but then from there on, I shifted to short films for the ministries in Delhi.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Bombay and I got into fiction. I got into, because that was an era of making soaps and daily soaps and all that. So I got into that. I got into that rut,
Yeah.
and and for a few years I was doing that. Um, great learning pad for anyone because you are churning out an episode every day. So it was like it teaches you loads of skills of dealing with 50 people on the sets at the same time, having to churn out one episode a day. So it was a great learning pad. But then I reached a point where I realized this was not stimulating enough for me. It was not really satiating my soul. I wasn't really happy, though I did not know what I wanted to do. But yes, there was something amiss. There was a void.
Lacking.
Yes, there was a void. And as luck would have it, fortunately, there was a friend of mine in US who approached me and she said, there is a spiritual film festival coming up in Europe, in US. Why don't you apply? Now, I didn't know even the spellings of spirituality. I was far gone. I was so far away from all that. I said, what kind of film would that be? I've never really made a spiritual documentary. So she said, read up about it and see what you can offer. There is still time for you to submit. I said, sure. And at that time, I remember I was reading a book by Robert Swoboda called Aghoras. And he apparently lived in India within Aghor, and he wrote 3 books, Aghora 1, 2, 3. So I started reading and I found it extremely fascinating, extremely fascinating. And I said, okay, this is a nice subject for a film. So I wrote back to US and I said, okay, this is something which I'd like to explore and work on. So they immediately agreed upon, because in America, what really works in television is anything which is sensational.
Yeah.
And Aghoris definitely are sensational, because the word which is the word which is coined for them is that they're cannibals because they eat the flesh of the dead. But that's not true, which I learned over my experience with them later on. So they quickly said yes, and I got down to working on it. And I remember I put a team together and I said, okay, we'll go to Varanasi, we'll go to Kashi, because that's the place at the main ghats. They are usually found in the cremation grounds of the Hindus. So that is the place where maximum Aghoris live. Fortunately, I found a team, but lots of my friends in Mumbai, they just dissuaded me. They said, you can't do this. You can't go to Varanasi. And on top of that, being with Aghoris, they're dangerous people, and
So,
it's not safe.
Mahima, so this was the offer you received from the Columbia TriStar. Is this the same thing?
Yes. So ultimately, it went on to Columbia TriStar. There was a show which used to
Okay.
come, which was produced by Columbia TriStar and Sony Pictures together. It was called the Ripley's Believe It or Not. So then so my friends dissuaded me and they said, no, you can't do it. You can't touch upon such a dangerous subject. And you're the only woman in the team. I mean, come on, it's unsafe. I said, okay, I will go. I will test it out for a day. And if I feel I'm unsafe or it's not comfortable, I'll come back. Or I will just put my team to work on it and I will step back. Anyway, I went and I told my team, now there is a main ghat which is called the burning ghat of Banaras, which is the Manikarnika Ghat.
Manikarnika Ghat, yeah.
Manikarnika Ghat. So that was very close to our hotel. I told my boys, I said, we'll drop all the equipment. We are not going to take anything with us. We will only go to the Manikarnika Ghat tonight. And we will just sit there and observe. Let's see what that place vibrates like. What is the energy of that place? And what is it that we can get there? So they said, okay. And we all went. We sat on the staircase while the bodies were burning right in front of us. And I noticed two very important things while we were sitting there. So, which I'll come to later. So while we are sitting there, in a couple of hours, the boys were like fed up because there were fumes and they were uncomfortable. They said, ma'am, we can't sit here. Let's go back. But something in me was saying, I need to stay back here. And so I said, okay, you carry on. I'll walk back in a couple of minutes or
Said
half
that
an
you
hour.
sat there all night.
Yes, so they went back and I sat there and something took over me that night because I was stuck there like glue. I couldn't get up. And before I knew, I saw the sunrise right there, sitting right there.
Wow.
And two very important things happened to me at that night. One was that when a corpse is brought at the Manikarnika Ghat for burning, the person who actually cracks the skull with a stick belongs to the Dom tribe, Dom Raja, because Dom Raja, they are the scheduled caste. So he cracks the skull from which जो कहते हैं रूह निकलती है, the soul comes out from there. So what struck me was that no matter who goes there after death, it could be a Raja or it could be a Rank, it could be a Brahmin or it could be a king of some place. They all get liberation through that dome guy who is actually a scheduled caste, a Shudra. That was the first thing. The second thing that struck me was that I was sitting on the staircase and there were these bodies which were burning, and behind that was Ganges. And I'm thinking to myself that death is actually just a few meters away from me. It's just like 10, 15, 20 meters away from me, and I'm sitting on the side of life. If this is the distance we have to cover in our life between life and death, to cover this distance, why do we go through so much of struggle? Why do we go through so much of possessions and accumulating things and struggling for fame, name, property, if this is the only distance we have to cover?
That's a big realization.
And that one night changed the course of my life. It just, something shifted. I can't put a finger on it, but something shifted. And of course it showed its truth to me, continues to show its truth to me till today.
Was that your moment of truth, Mahimaji? You had said once that every creative artist has their own
Has a moment of truth.
You had
Yes.
said yours came around Y2K.
That's it. So
When
that
you
was
were
one. That
in
was the night. Yes. And what really happened that night was the fear vanished. I was just,
fear of what? Just fear
fear of death,
fear of death.
fear of competition, fear of everything. We our by default our DNA is built on fear.
Yeah.
By default. So that was one. But there is a bigger story here which happened post that night. We finished our shooting, and 5 days later, we shot for 5 days, and 5 days later, we were ready to come back. And my boys are packing up the equipment, and we are ready, and our tickets are booked. And while I'm packing, I hear this voice: "You can't go you can't go yet. You can't go back yet." And I had no clue who who was speaking to me. I had no idea. And I sat there, closed my eyes, and the voice came again. "You can't go back yet." And I'm wondering, really? Am I hallucinating? Am I imagining? But no, it wasn't that. There was a voice. So the guy who was our local coordinator, Sanjay, I asked him, I said, "Sanjay, is there anything else that I need to explore in this place?" He says, "No, ma'am, I've taken you to the best places and all the places I have known here. There is nothing else." I said, "In any case, I think I will stay back a day or two." So I told my boys, I said, "You carry on because your tickets are booked." No, we are not leaving you. We are not leaving you alone here. We will stay back here. I said, "But I have nothing for you. I don't know what am I going to do here? I have nothing for you." They said, "Doesn't matter. If you don't work, doesn't matter. If you work, that's also fine." So fine, our tickets got cancelled and we stayed back. For what? We had no idea. Then Sanjay told me, "Ma'am, I have an idea. There is somebody here in Varanasi who is a grahast. He's a family man, but he was a professor in the university, and he is an Aghori. He's an Aghori, and he speaks fluent English. Maybe for your American audience, you will get more answers which you are looking for. Maybe he'd be able to give you the answers." I said, "Sure," because I still had those questions in my head. Why do they do what they do? What is the reason that they are being labeled as cannibals? What is it?
The Aghoris. Aghoris. Okay.
Aghoris, yes.
Okay.
So he said, "Okay, come with me." So I went. I went with him, and he took me through these little by-lanes of Varanasi.
Yeah, I have been to Varanasi. Yeah, I remember.
Yes, a
Gullies.
few
Yeah,
chota
very
by-lanes,
small.
and
Yeah.
we came in front of this huge door, huge old wooden door with a big iron handle. So he knocked at the handle. We reached there and he knocked at the handle. When he knocked, we heard a huge, as if it was a roar. We heard a voice from inside. Let Mahiema come inside.
Oh.
I lost my ground under my feet. I lost my ground. I asked Sanjay, have you sent a word already? He said, no, I'm coming here with you for the first time. And I was like shaken up. And of course, terrified as to what is this. The door opened and we went inside, and he was sitting, he was bare-chested, and he had a beautiful smile on his face, and he was bald and his eyes were closed. He had a big tika, and he said, Tu aa gayi? Baith ja, sit down. So I sat down and he put his hand above his head and he flung something and he brought out his fist. He opened it and he says, see, Mata Rani ne tere liye bheja. And there was a bone and there was some ash in it. So I said, what do I do with it? So he said, put it on your mouth, put it on your forehead. So I took a little and I put it on my forehead. And he knew exactly what am I doing in Varanasi. He said, जो तू करना चाहती है यहाँ पर करने आई है, और जो तेरे पास प्रश्न है कल सुबह 6 बजे आ जाना, मैं तैयार हूँगा. I ran from there.
I have goosebumps, Mahima. Yeah.
I was so shocked. So I came out. As soon as the door closed behind us, I fell on the floor. I was so overwhelmed. I fell on the floor and I cried.
You cannot even imagine.
I said, what is this? Is this a kind of a synchronicity? Is this a message from another lifetime? What is it? I could not put a finger on it at that time. So I came back to the hotel and I told my boys, I said, tomorrow morning, we have to be ready at 5. We have to reach that place at 6. We reached that place and it was so beautifully cleaned. You know, those old houses with the Vera jo hota hai. So clean. He was nicely bathed and everything and ready for the shoot. And he gave me the finest answers anybody could think of.
The Aghori Sadhu.
The Aghori Baba. And Namrata, the film turned out to be a grosser on Ripley's. Till this day, it is up on the charts. No other film has crossed that popularity charts as this, because he was so articulate, so clear, so precise, and so honest and authentic. Yeah, so my whole perception about Aghoris changed. My respect for them turned multifold. I mean, it just made a quantum jump. I was so impressed with why do they do what they do.
So who are Aghoris? Why do they choose this path? Is it like a spiritual pursuit for them?
Yes, of course, it's a spiritual pursuit. Now they are known to be on the cremation ghats, on the ghats,
Yes.
and after the body is burnt, the whatever is left, the family takes the ash in the urns, and rest is put away in the Ganga. So these guys, they go down into the Ganga and they take out whatever is the leftover portion. Now, for a woman, the bone of the heart does not burn. It remains intact because she's the nurturer. She's the protector. And for a man, because he's the provider, the spine doesn't burn. And that's the part of the portion of the bone which they bring. Now, I could be wrong in understanding or interpreting it, but this was my understanding of it, of what he told me. And they bring it out, and they put it in the fire, and they lock their hands at the back of their body,
So
and
they
they
bring
dig
the bone of the heart and the spine.
whatever little piece of bone
Okay.
they find.
Okay.
They put it in the fire,
Okay.
they burn it, and they put a little alcohol in it, and then they lock their hands at the back of their body, lock it, and then with the face right in, the face gets dived into the fire to pick it up and eat. So they don't touch that portion after it's burning. It just goes directly into the mouth. Now, there's a reason why they do this. Because one, Aghoris are Shiv bhakts. They believe in Shiva. They're followers of Lord Shiva.
Mm.
And why Shiva? Because Shiva is the god of destruction and transformation. So only if something gets destroyed will a new one come out, will the transformation happen. And they want to get rid of the cycle of life and death, birth and rebirth. So that's why, now there are two things they say are beyond human control. One is the taste buds, and two is the sexual desire. This is beyond human control. So what they try and do is they take the root of hatred, repulsion towards these two things, so that they can kill these two vasanas. They can kill the desire for sex and they can kill the desire for taste buds
How do they do that?
by eating the most repulsive things. By eating the most repulsive things, they've killed their taste buds. And by making love to a corpse, they get rid of their sexual desire as well.
They do that?
Yes. Yes. This is what was told to me. This is what was told to me. I don't want to say it with authority. I'm no
Yeah.
authority on this.
It's
Yeah, but this is what was told to me, and I just completely respect those people for that. So for them, it is like transforming after destroying everything that a human being is made of. You know. So this is the reason why they do what they do, and this the second part of the story where I finally found my calling, especially with filmmaking, was when we finished the film and it was handed over and played a few times. I get a call from this Aghori Baba's son, and he informs me that his father has passed on, left the body. And he said, but my father, before going, has taught me how to be in communication with with his non-physical being. So he said, I got a message from my father to reach out to you and ask you to put the entire footage or whatever you have shot with him in his interview together and to show it to him, because that is his entire life journey, which you recorded.
And you got this call after you had gone back to Delhi.
After we had gone back and the film had completed and the film was already put out, so we get a call saying that his father has left the body and this is the message he has received. So we put the tape together, and during those days there were these VHS tapes and all that.
Yeah.
So we put the entire footage together, put it on the VHS tape, and sent it to him, dedicating the whole thing to him. And a few days later, I think a couple of months later, we get a call back from the son. And he said, my father watched it and he is full of accolades for you. And he says, you've done a fantastic job. But he also has a message for you. And the message is that now you will not be able to take on commercial work anymore. Your job in this lifetime is only to do spiritual work.
Mm.
And that was the end of it. Rest is history. I have never been able to do any commercial work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, this is some experience. So,
Yes.
um, Mahimaji, why do they choose to become Aghoris? Is it something that they choose that I want to
Um,
choose this path or uh yeah,
I would like to believe that it is a calling from another birth, another lifetime.
okay.
Yes. Yes. Because why would anybody like to give themselves so much suffering? So I think whatever, in any case, I believe in the law of karma. I believe in the law. I believe in birth and rebirth and this thing. So something they probably have done or not done in the last birth, and this is like a completion for them. And this is where they stop the cycle of birth and rebirth. And to reach that, they probably have to go through this path. I mean, again, this is my understanding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So after that, you only did a spiritual documentary.
Yeah,
And yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I wasn't able to touch anything commercial after that because even if I tried, it would just slip out of my hands. It would just go away automatically without even my nothing. I would not be able to do it. Nothing.
Your work also revolves around topics of like paranormal experiences,
Yes.
right? And some of the lesser known and understood aspects of life. Can you talk a
Yes.
little bit about that?
Yeah. Uh, when I was in Mumbai, and I was reading up a lot about spiritual topics and getting to know about different masters and teachers and everything. What struck me very strongly was that why is paranormal world portrayed in a negative way
Yeah.
and in a scary way?
Mhm.
I could never understand. I mean, starting from our childhood school days, we read stories of Hansel and Gretel, and then we grow up, and then we watch these very scary comic comic books and stuff
Even
like
movies, shows,
movies,
series, at
everything.
least back when we were growing up. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So it is always portrayed to be the ugly side of the invisible world.
Yeah.
And I could never understand that.
Yeah.
Because for me it was when because I think maybe it was coming from stemming from the Aghori experience, because when you see the bodies burned and the soul departing, you would like to assume that they find a nice place up there for themselves. Why would they want to come back and trouble other human beings?
Mm.
And why would they want to be ugly? And so it could never really gel with my thought process, with my thinking. So I wanted to do something on television where paranormal and supernatural world were portrayed in a positive light. I wanted to do that. So I wrote a proposal and I did a little research. And Ruskin Bond, if you remember,
Yeah.
he used to write a lot of interesting stories. Most of them were real, happening in the mountains and in the hills. So I approached him and we took a few stories of his and we created a show.
Nice.
And
What is the name of the show?
Anant, it was called Anant, Anant.
Okay.
Anand. And the whole idea of that show was to just bring out so called horror stories, but not so horror. It was like pleasant, supernatural, paranormal stories.
Can you tell us like a little story, one of your favorites, to give the viewers an idea? And
Okay,
can
I'll
they
tell
still
you one.
watch, Mahimaj? Can they still watch this?
Yes, the rights of the show are with ZEE
Okay.
TV.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can certainly try
Okay.
to get those.
Yeah, tell us a
So
fictional story.
So I would like to narrate one interesting experience of the presence and the sightings on our sets while
Mhm.
we were shooting these. So one of the stories of Ruskin Bond, I think it's called Whisper in the Woods, Whisper in the something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a story of a little boy who had died. He was bicycling to his school, and he was overridden by a truck, and he died. Now, apparently the spirit of that little kid is walks around in Missouri trying to find, justice, or trying,
Yeah.
because obviously it was a premature death. So that was a little story. So our team, we went to Missouri, and we were all staying at Savoy Hotel,
Hmm.
at the Savoy. And the Savoy Hotel is known for a lot of sightings, a lot of presence. There are stories that there is a headless butler there. There are stories that spirits walk around
I
there.
used to love these little stories, and
I
when
know,
I
I
would hear
know.
as a kid, yeah, that
Yeah,
such and such hotel may 13th floor is haunted,
exactly,
12th floor is
exactly.
haunted.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, Humby Bevaku, we wanted to take on this challenge. So we
Uh,
all checked into Savoy. We all checked in. And because we also wanted to film there. We
yeah,
wanted to shoot
yeah,
in the cemetery, and we wanted to shoot around the hotel and all.
yeah.
We checked in, and one night, my assistants were staying in the room next to me. So one night at about midnight, I get this banging, loud banging on my door. Ma'am, please open the door. Ma'am, please open the door. So when I opened, my assistants were all sweaty and nervous and shivering and frantically, saying, "Ma'am, we can't sleep in my room. We can't sleep in my room." I said, "Why? What happened?" He said, "I went to the bathroom and I went for a shower. I closed the tap. I came out and suddenly I heard the tap going again. I went in again and I put off the tap again. Again, I heard it. Ma'am, there is somebody in that room. We are not sleeping there." So I said, "Okay, bring your bedding." So they all slept in my room. But the point was, and then they would lock the door from outside, and the latch will open by itself. They would lock it again and the latch will open by itself.
For real?
Yeah, yeah, for real. I saw it. I saw it. And and that happened at that time. Um, but we were still filming and we were there, and everything was fine. Then we were shooting at the cemetery. There was a night shot, and at the night shot there was this, the shot was that there was a skull which was kept on the grave, and the shot was that the skull had a little thread tied to it, and I made my sport boy sit on top of a tree with the thread in his hand. So, and I told my cameraman that when my protagonist would walk towards the skull will jump, will move.
Oh,
Okay, because to show that there is life here.
yeah.
So I told my cameraman, I said, only when I give you a call, the spot boy will pick the thread and you will roll. He said, "Okay, ma'am." So we are all ready and everything, and the skull started jumping. And I shouted, I told the spot boy, "I told you not to lift up the thread unless I gave you an instruction." He said, "Ma'am, I did not even touch the thread. I
Wow.
did not even touch it." And the camera was not rolling, and it was jumping. So we knew that there was a presence there. We knew that there was a presence.
Didn't
So we
it
had such a
scare you? Mahima?
not
Even
really
thinking
for
about it
some
right
odd
now, I don't know.
for some
Scared is
odd
the
reason.
wrong word, but for the lack of a better word, you know what I'm trying to, it just, yeah. Wow.
Um, Not scared. I think I was more in awareness of their presence because I came with this mindset that there is only positivity there. I
Yeah.
mean, they cannot be ugly, they cannot be scary, they cannot be harming you. They're not. They're just coexisting with us. It's just that we have a body and they don't have a body, but they coexist with us.
So these are, I guess, What would you call them?
Uh, well, there are many stories to it, many different versions to it. One version is that depending on your karmic account
Yeah.
of debit and credit, it is decided after you die which level would you be in. So if your credits are higher than your debit, then obviously you go into a higher plane. But if it is reverse, then you hang around on planet Earth and you just try and find justice or try and find answers to your unexplained questions or something like that. Yes, this is what I would assume. This is what I would assume, and so, but I also I'm pretty sure that they don't harm others
Yeah.
unless and until they're really bad. They've been really bad people, and they are
Nice.
here to take revenge or something like that. Only then. But why would they want to harm? Why would they want to harm others? You know?
So, what aspect of your work makes you most proud? I mean, you're doing some fascinating jobs, such different topics that you explore.
Yeah. See, over the years, shifted a lot of genres. So I did paranormal, then I did spiritual, and then I also did before that fiction. Then over the years, what I have started loving and doing now is telling people stories, really doing real life stories, especially stories of those people um, who don't have a voice or who don't have the reach to reach others. So I feel that they are the underdogs, and but they are the real heroes. So if
Is
their
this is
story
this like your new series, Shanti,
that
We Love
yes,
You?
yes, yes.
I would love to about
I've been involved with that organization since the past 5 years.
that. Okay.
But the series, the short film series, started only last year.
Okay.
We launched it last October, so
Okay.
we are 1 year into it. We started working 2 years back on it, but it went on air last year. So, and what I realized in this last 1 year of working with them is it's the most gratifying experience I've had in my life.
Yeah.
Most gratifying because one, they are vulnerable. They are showing their vulnerability on camera. Two, they are most authentic stories. They don't have to put on an act. They don't have to speak anything but the truth about their lives, and how they have transformed their lives is a huge learning for all of us. And my team has learns every time they go there. They come back different people, including myself. So I just feel that they have so much to teach us, so much to teach us, and they are real heroes of our society. They are real heroes. They have very little in life. They have broken bones, broken body in many ways, yet their spirit, my God, unimaginable. Their spirit is like so large and full of light, you know. Um, and that by far is the work I'm enjoying the most in my life.
Which is what you're currently working on, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So you're traveling to Nepal too. Is this the same
Yes.
project or is this something
Yes.
different that you're working on?
Yes, it is. This is an NGO which was
Okay.
started by a German woman
Okay.
about 35 years ago in Kathmandu.
Okay.
And at that time, it's called Shanti Leprahilfi. Leprahilfi means leprosy. So, leprosy in Nepal is pretty rampant, especially because they live in extreme um, unhygienic conditions or with no resources and high up in the mountains. So they get leprosy they don't get treatment, and then it increases, and then we come from a conditioning to believe that leprosy is God's curse to humanity. So it's an untouchable disease. You should not touch and should not go near. So these people are automatically thrown out from their village, thrown out from their homes. So they become homeless. But when they come down to Kathmandu for treatment, then that's the time when this NGO comes in place, because then they find shelter. But the founder of this NGO, Marianne, she firmly believes that we all are made in the image of God, and if we are, then we ought to be just perfect. We are
Yeah.
nothing but perfect. And if we are perfect, it doesn't matter if we don't have limbs or fingers or hands or knees or legs or eyes. You still have that potential because you're a perfect being, a creation of the divine. And if you are, then you have to be given an opportunity, a chance to hone that skill and bring out that potential. And that's what this NGO does. So there are people over there who have stumps. They don't have fingers. They have stumps. Yet they are painters par excellent. Par excellent. So I don't have words to even express the gratitude I feel of
No,
being in that
you
place.
don't have to say it. I can see it on your face. Your Instagram reels, the way you talk, I think it shows it all.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just love going there. Yeah, and they are like an extended family for me, a
Yeah.
family of 1,000 people, you know, and
Yeah,
I
it's
just love it.
amazing. Amazing
Mm.
journey you have had. So if you had to start over as a filmmaker, how would it be different? Would it be any different?
Yes, maybe,
We
maybe.
learn a lot as we
Of course, of course.
travel.
But what I would say, if I had to start all over, one thing I would be avoiding, which I did. I mean, I would call it a waste. I wasted like good chunk of my career life in just being a part of the herd.
I think that is something for all of us to learn.
Exactly.
A very important lesson, yeah. I mean, I would love for you to talk about it more. I think the Gen Z, the newer generation, everybody needs to hear this.
Yeah, because I think being a part of the herd cuts down your own personal growth
Yeah.
majorly, majorly, because you're following a direction where others are following, believing that you're going to get ahead of the other, and there's no end. There's no end to it.
And there is no end to it.
There's no end to
It
it.
feel like even if there is one person who is thinking differently, like you did, but because the rest of the society is so conditioned,
It is. It
um,
is.
it's difficult for just that one person to just stay where they want to stay.
Exactly. So one of the things which I would not like to repeat is just cut down, slash, slash away, cut off those years when I was following the herd.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, I wish somebody had told me that filmmaking is not so much about technicalities as much as it is about storytelling from the heart. Because if you're talking from your heart and if you're showing exactly what your heart is asking you to do,
It will.
whether you're technically right or wrong, it does not matter as long as it touches another. That's it.
It is very important. No, so I was going to ask you that what are your five things I wish someone had told me when I first started?
This is it. I wish somebody had told me that you you do not follow so much of the technical rules, this
Yeah,
is right, this angle is right, and that lighting is wrong, and that way, that profile is right. No, just follow your heart. Just tell the story as is, as is. Nothing is better than telling the story as it is appearing in front of you, because only then will the audience, a viewer, will be able to relate to it. And yes, again, if I had to restart all over again, this is something I would slash out. The technical jargons, I would just brush it aside.
So,
Yeah.
what has been your source of inspiration, Mahimaji? Where do you get ideas from, and what kind of cinemas draws you?
My
And
main
all heart, you are all heart.
my main inspiration, honestly, Namrata, is just the alignment with the universe. I just so believe that whatever is meant for you will come to you, no matter how, no matter what. That's one, the key. The second is I just relate to every single grain, every single grass, every single cloud, every single star, every single animal walking on the road, because everybody is trying to say something to you. Everyone, everything, a tree, a flower, or everything is always speaking with you.
You
You
need
just have to listen.
you need to listen. Yeah.
You just have to listen. That's it. That's it. So I'll tell you a very beautiful incident. Many years ago, I was making a film on Down syndrome, and it was a very heartful film. And I had a couple of collapses on the sets as well, because I couldn't deal with what I was getting to know or learn about their lives. And to do my background score for the film, I went to South India, and I wouldn't like to take the name, but I was working with a very highly accomplished international music composer who lives in Chennai. And I was at his house, and I was so racking my brains. I had my headache because I just wanted the music to be soulful. I wanted the music to be, like one string of guitar or one string of violin, just soulful music. And I wasn't getting it. So I was sitting out in the garden, and he comes and he sits next to me,
The
and he
musician
said,
who comes.
the music director, the
Okay.
music composer, yeah. And he said, I want to tell you one story, how I got my inspiration for one of my films which got awards later on. I said, yeah. He said, I wasn't able to think as to kahan se aayega ye idea film ka. So I went up to the temple. I think Madurai temple he went up, and he sat up, and at the crack of dawn at 4:30 in the morning, he sat there and he said, all I prayed was, show me an inspiration. Show me. And he said, at about 5 o'clock, I heard two koel talking to one another. Two koels talking to one another. They were just waking up each other. He said that became the starting point of my song, and that song became a hit.
Wow.
So he got his inspiration from the birds. I get inspiration everywhere, all the time. I mean, a child at Shanti in Nepal is my source of inspiration. I hug her or hug him, and I know what my next story is going to be.
Really?
So yeah, so it's like, yeah, and I can't wait to ever go back there, because I come back with so much food for my soul, and that nourishes me and keeps me going for the next couple of months before I go back, you know?
Yeah, you're very passionate about this. So is this your next project, Mahimaji?
Yeah, I'm doing this at the moment, and I'm doing one more film, which I will be able to talk about later, because it's about a very special woman who passed away at 93, but she's left a very, very indelible mark in the society. So it's a film on her, which I will share later on. And then simultaneously, I'm also doing Shifting Tides. Shifting Tides was my Zoom show which started during COVID,
Mhm.
and it started like a joke. It started like a personal thing because I was not doing anything, couldn't travel, everybody was on lockdown. So I asked my friends, would you like to come on the show and let's talk about the aha moments in our lives? They said, okay. So I started out, but of course it catapulted into a place which I had never imagined.
Yeah, Shifting Tides was, and we'll put the link down under the podcast episode if people
Yes,
want to watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I had the honor of speaking with Dr. Erwin Laszlo, who's a 5 times nominee of the Nobel Peace Prize. Then Neil Donald Walsh, Dr. Bruce Lipton.
You've met him, Neil Donald Walsh?
I talked to him, I interviewed him. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So not even these people, they teach me so much. They teach me so much. Every conversation I have is like a learning lesson for me. It's like a new class.
What is
New
one
class.
life lesson, Mahimaji, that you would like to share with everybody? You have met such amazing people. You have talked to such, I mean, Neil Donald Walsh. Yeah, I read his books too. What is something that just stands out?
What I'd like to say is life is not easy. Life has struggles. Life has pain. Life has suffering. But suffering and calamities are a doorway to an opportunity. So don't sink in, don't give in to that calamity. Rise above it and see where the light is. Like even Rumi says that a crack is the place from where the light enters.
Yeah.
So a wound is a place where the light enters from. So um, whether you look at a butterfly or whether you look at a snake, only when the snake wriggles out of its old skin, it comes into its new skin. So there is nothing which stops you from growth and taking on the opportunity and believing that life has more to give you. And this is only a stepping stone to get there. That's
Um,
it.
One last message for the young people out there, seekers like you who want to go into movies, documentaries, filmmaking, because it's not easy. It's a difficult path.
It is a difficult path,
What
yes.
would you
It is
tell
a
them?
difficult path. What I would like to say is just don't compare yourself with anybody. Just dive in, just plunge, and just do wherever your instinct and your heart takes you. Just dive in, because there is a place for you, for everyone on this earth, and that place which you have on this earth, nobody else can come in. It's just your place. It's your unique place. And that place will find you. It will find you. I can say that with conviction because I was always a sore thumb sticking out, and I just got what my heart desired.
Yeah, I think you may have lost few years, but you are where you wanted to be.
Yeah, because you ultimately find your own haven. You find your own haven. You have to find your own haven, and by just following the herd, or just by looking good or looking right in the society, is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
It may give you the temporary pleasures, it may give you the temporary joys, but you're going to lose yourself in it. You're going to lose yourself.
And you're right. Anytime that is happening, I think everybody feels deep down that something is lacking.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that void will make you search. That void will make you seek. That void will, and then you're willing at that point to just drop everything and go looking for that one little thing. And that thing can come to you at a place where you don't have a single material desire. You don't have a single material possession. single possession. And we are losing our own time, but I just want to share a very small thing.
I would love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember about 3 years back, um, again, this void had come in, especially during COVID. Lots and lots of introspection happened and lots of moments of reflection and everything. So one day I just picked up a small bag with 2 pieces of dresses and I went to Rishikesh. And I
I
actually,
really want to go there. Yeah, I'm going to reach out to you when I.
yeah, and I went there just hoping that I'll sit by the Ganga because I have a very special relationship with Ganga. Very, very special. I mean, she's always embraced me and she's always given me whatever I wanted in life. So I just wanted to sit by the Ganga and just fill my soul with it. So I told my son I'd be back in a couple of days. And I did not come back for a year.
For a
I
year?
did for a year. I stayed there for a year. But that 1 year in Rishikesh, Namrata, was so fulfilling. I was living out of a tiny room with few utensils, um, not needing more than 3 pairs of tracks, and I was the happiest. I was the happiest, you
Wow.
know, and, and that made me realize that you actually don't need much to lead a good life.
What did you do
You
there, Mahimaji, for 1 year?
I I met a lot of people. I meditated a lot. I wrote. I wrote my book, and it was just beautiful. I connected with Ganga in a big way. It was just beautiful. Yeah. So Rishikesh, yes, any place by the Ganga. Ganga is so beautiful. She's just not a river. She speaks to you. She's like alive. She's a alive river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rishikesh
I
was
mean,
another. So Rishikesh was another an experience for you.
yes, 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 yes. And I've had a history with Ganga because I made 2 films with 2 women ascetics who live. One of them lived in Gangotri and then came down, and the other one found her calling. She's from scientist from Stanford, now lives in Rishikesh as a sadhu. So I made films on these 2 people. So it was very special for me to be in Rishikesh.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
Where is life going now, Mahimaji?
I'm just flowing. I'm just flowing, Amrita. And I just feel that even if I can contribute that little drop in the ocean,
Do you
um,
think you have reached where you want to or not yet?
no, life is a learning lesson. It's an ongoing journey, and I'm like a perpetual student of life. I I don't feel that I know anything. I'm
Yeah.
still learning, and I continue to learn. Like these children and people at Shanti, they teach me more than I can ever do anything for them.
Mm.
They teach me much more. They give me such huge life lessons, such huge life lessons. So
Yeah. This was really nice. I need to now actually go back and watch this entire episode because I was so engrossed in what you were saying. Some of your, especially your Varanasi story and the Australia backpacking, where it
yeah,
all started. Um,
yeah, yeah. You have to be a student of life. You have to be an ongoing learner, seeker, learner, explorer,
yeah,
vagabond,
yeah, yeah,
vagabond.
yeah. So good luck, Maji, on all um,
Thank you.
your projects as well. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
I'm
Thank
sure
you,
you're going
Bhagat.
to continue doing amazing, just like what you're doing right now.
Thank you so
I
much.
do
Thank
follow
you.
your Instagram page, so I watch all your reels. And
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
also
Thank
learning
you.
a lot. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Lovely talking to you. Lovely talking to you,
Lovely
Namrata.
talking to you, Maji. Okay, take care.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
bye bye.
bye.
Bye bye.